starting with Childish Gambino's Bando, Stone, and the New World. And yeah, reading kind of Google, it says this is his sixth and final album under the Childish Gambino moniker. It's a big goodbye album, he told St. Laurent Apple Music One interview he had done. So, yeah, this is one of his final albums as a Childish Gambino kind of moniker. It has been a long time coming. People have been waiting for the follow up to no. So Alta Vista already came out earlier this year. I'm tripping. So that did come out earlier, and then this is the final album under Childish Gambino called Bando, Stone, and new album. But like honestly, this is the much anticipated kind of big follow up to Awaken My Love, which obviously had his biggest song of all time. And then Redbone. And then so this is something that people have been waiting for. I've been waiting for. I've been a longtime fan of Childish Gambino since his early mixtape days, like Camp, Bonfire, Because of the Internet. Like I've just been a big fan of his for a long time, both as an actor and writer and comedian and as a musician. And I'm always interested to see kind of what direction he's going to go in, because you never really know with him. He's very kind of in his own lane, does his own thing, doesn't really worry too much about trends. He kind of moves to the beat of his own drum, and that's why people love him. That's why I love him, and I'm very interested to see kind of what direction he decides to go in with this new project, Bando, Stone, and New World. So without further ado, let's just get right into it. Track number 1, Hearts Were Meant to Fly. Let's go. I mean, okay, so I'm pretty sure this is not going to be the entire direction that he goes with this project, but this is a very interesting choice vocally. I'm assuming this is him doing these kind of vocals and pitching his sound and voice up to these crazy degrees. Production wise, it seems kind of interesting. Like it feels like it's building up to something here. If there is a drop to come, it definitely seems like it's kind of taking a while to get there, but right at the back, it's very different. Like I said, I don't really know what to expect with him when his music and like project that he does. He always does something different, and this is definitely something I was not expecting to hear on an opening of an album, but it is a very interesting choice to say the least. Like I said, it's very different, very alternative, kind of this almost punk aesthetic to it. It very reminds me of like Ye's whole Yeezy project, where we had these crazy synths, crazy guitars, just crazy raw, rough punk feeling aesthetic to this whole hip hop kind of project. And like I'm not sure if this is going to be the entirety of the album, but it does give me heavy Yeezy feels, and that's not too far of a stretch from, considering they are kind of similar style artists and people, in that they are kind of the alternative version of what is like mainstream black hip-hop music. And like I'm not surprised to see him kind of go in this kind of more raw direction. It is very different than Awaken My Love right out the jump, and like that seems to be kind of his MO, of like delivering something that you don't expect. And like this is very different than what I expected, and definitely gives me heavy Yeezy vibes on this song. We'll see if it continues to be the track record for this entire project, but I mean, I really wouldn't give this another listen, but interesting opening. Let's go to the next one, Lithonia. Okay, again, very interesting, very alternative rock, very grungy, very kind of 90s aesthetic in terms of like alternative indie rock. And he's always kind of dabbled with different genres, different sounds, and different aesthetics. And like, so that's not like the biggest surprise, but coming off of his last major album, while there was Alta Vista, his last major album was Awaken My Love, and like to come back to this years later and like have this completely wholly different sound from that kind of very black, soulful, funky feel of that album to this now is a kind of strong shift, and like one that if that was the first album that you were introduced to of him, you'd be very surprised to hear this, because this is fully kind of like alternative indie grunge rock, and like it's pretty decent. Not mad at it. Like he does have that touch and ability to kind of tackle these different genres, albeit at a lesser degree than somebody whose whole devotion is to it. But he always does a good job of like bringing his own version to these different sounds. Very interesting. Very interesting, this kind of direction that he's deciding to go on this project. It definitely feels more like a because the internet type of project than anything else, because it seems to be that he's going to offer us a kind of mixtape of sorts where he dives into these different styles and songs and sounds and genres and like kind of really tries to show off his range as an artist, which is cool. Like, it's always a cool direction, but it is something that's very hard to nail, because at the end of the day, this isn't your main kind of lane or like your main passion or devotion. So like you will never be quite on the same level as somebody whose like whole genre is indie grunge rock. Like, so it's always going to feel like a lesser imitation of somebody whose whole sound is that. So like, on one hand, it is cool that he is showing off some of the range. On another hand, it kind of makes me a little bit concerned because he's not going to be able to show off his full greatness, because he's always dipping and dabbling and trying different things. So we'll see, but it is definitely an interesting approach. Let's go to track number 3, Survive, featuring Chloe. Like I said because the internet, and this feels like something that could have come from that era of Childish Gambino. The production, kind of the vibey, wavy feels of it, very synth heavy, but still very hip hop and R&B, but almost in like a pop direction. It's very because the internet camp days for me of early Childish Gambino, and I know people have been clamoring for him, that version of him, to come back, especially because of that hard turn he took around Awaken My Love Time, and then almost going strictly film and TV. So like, it seems like he is also kind of feeding his fan base with this kind of return to his earlier style and sound, and like I'm here for it, because I did love that kind of era of Childish Gambino, and that's when I really became a fan, and really was like when he started to like really show off the wide range that he was capable of. So like, I'm not mad at this so far. It does sound pretty tough. I mean, production is really immaculate on this song. Like, I'm not gonna lie, like, from the jazzy kind of saxophone playing in the background, the very smooth ethereal kind of like synths, and then like these hard driving drums. It's like it's a great mix of different sounds and instrumentation that not a lot of people would be able to pull off in such a kind of like feel good, sound good, just wouldn't be able to pull off generally in like a way that sounds as enjoyable as it does. The production on this is great, and so far, out of those three songs that we've heard, this definitely is the strongest offering so far. Like, that saxophone is nasty. Like, it's, for me, sax has always been a very underrated aspect of kind of modern music. You don't hear it so much in kind of like these more mainstream poppy type of genres and styles and sounds. But whenever I do hear it in a song, it always seems to add a lot. And it always makes you wonder, like, why haven't people figured out more ways to kind of incorporate these horns and like sax and different instruments of its ilk? Because it always does feel so good when it's done right. Gotta give it to him. Like, this is definitely the most kind of childish Gambino song that I've actually heard in quite a while from, honestly, because like this definitely feels like from his earlier days when you talk about camp, because internet, blah blah blah, like stuff like that. And this production is phenomenal. The saxophone and horns and like everything melding together just hits perfectly, and it's a vibe. And Chloe did her thing as well, and like added a lot with the vocals. And overall, like this is a fire song. Let's keep this going. Let's go to track number 4, Steps Beach. I mean, doing his best Frank Ocean impersonation for sure. Like, this definitely feels something like that Frank might deliver. He's always had this ability to kind of switch between rapping and singing, and it's something that he really started to show a few years into his career, and like later on as projects got a little bit more intense, a little bit more thoughtful, a little bit more better produced, he really started to show kind of that side to him. Like, he's never had the best vocals to the point where like, oh, he could be a straight up R&B artist, but in terms of like somebody who can switch back and forth, he does a good job. And like, this is definitely his closest Frank Ocean impersonation to me, and like, I'm not mad at it. I love Frank Ocean. I think these more vibey, slowed down R&B tracks with almost a like spoken word type of delivery work well for him. And like, this is sounding good so far. Like I said, very vibey, very laid back, very much in the lane of like a Frank Ocean type of song. And like, I think he carried it pretty well. Again, I don't think it's as good as someone as like a Frank Ocean, but in terms of like somebody who is able to switch up between rap and alternative rock and indie rock and like all these different styles and genres, and then still deliver a track like this, it is impressive. And like, it is a good song, definitely vibey. And I like that one. Let's go to track number 5, Talk My Shit, featuring Amare and Flo Milli. I mean, I keep bringing up kind of like his Because Internet, was it? Because Internet Camp, what was the other one? It was Stone Mountain / Kauai mixtape days, because this feels like that era. Like, it feels like if you were to tell me blind listening, like this was on one of those tapes, I might believe you, because it's been a while since I've heard them, but like, I might believe you just simply for the fact that it definitely fits in with the vibe and style and sound that he was going with from those days. Like, this feels like old Childish Gambino, where he almost had sometimes borderline gimmicky kind of rap songs. And like, this kind of has that vibe where he's not so serious, he's a little bit more tongue-in-cheek. His lyrics have always been a little bit like slapstick almost, and like, this feels like a return to form with that. And like, some people loved it, some people hated it, and like, but he understands this is kind of like how he got to the point that he was. That's how he built his fan base initially with his music. And like, it feels like he's kind of serving that base of fans more than anybody else. And like, I'm not mad at it, but it definitely feels like something from that era. I'm assuming this is Flo Milli. I'm actually not that familiar with Flo Milli outside of name recognition, but I'm assuming this is Flo Milli. And like, I can't lie, can't do the voice. Or maybe this is Flo Milli. So who's that? Amare? One of those, whoever's doing that second verse, can't do the voice. I'm sorry. Again, very much from that earlier kind of mixtape days of Childish Gambino, where he was doing more almost gimmicky raps that were like a lot more tongue-in-cheek, a lot more just having fun with it, and far more or less serious, but like definitely more hip-hop than we've gotten from over his last few projects. And like, this definitely feels strictly from that era. Like it or love it, but it's definitely from that era. Let's go to track number 6, Got to Be. Hold on. Let me run that back. Hold up, that drop was kind of crazy. doing like this almost like Backstreet Boys NC boy band kind of like vocalization and intro, and then dropping into like this crazy electro synth beat is kind of crazy. I mean, I can't lie. Like, I keep making comparisons to other artists, but it's very hard not to do when he is essentially the taskmaster of music. Like, it's hard not to make these comparisons to other artists because they're there. Like, they're a lot of similarities. Like, if I just was blind listening to this and be like, oh, this is JPEG Mafia or this is Danny Brown, like, I would be like, I can see it. I can definitely hear it. Like, there's definitely those kind of chaotic electro similarities, and like, it's not a bad thing. Like, it's not a bad version, but it's never quite as good as the original. But it's hard not to make these comparisons when he is essentially the taskmaster of music, and like, this is sounding very much like a JPEG Mafia kind of production. Fire song. I cannot lie, absolutely fire song. Kind of caught me off guard. Was not expecting that. And like, while there are obviously similarities to other artists and like JPEG Mafia and like the that's definitely stylings of like a Danny Brown, it does stand out on its own. And like, honestly, it's chaotic in the best way possible. And like, this one is kind of a slapper. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I would definitely listen to this one again. Let's keep this going. Let's go to track number 7, Real Love. I don't know. Like, I there's just something about the song that is not quite hitting and feels kind of cheap and almost, I don't know. Like, it's hard to put my finger on exactly what it is about this song, but this song is not hitting right now, and like, I'm not really digging this one at all.
It's not a banger, my guy.
Like, this very syrupy, poppy, almost corny-esque pop number that is clearly aiming for kind of more mainstream plays is just not it. Like, there is a way to do kind of like these very kind of cotton candy type pop numbers. Take a look at Hey from like 100 3000, and this seems to be kind of the route that he was almost kind of trying to go, but did not quite hit that mark. It feels very cheap, very commercial, very like, very much a, what's the term I'm looking for? It definitely feels like one of those kind of industry songs that has been workshopped to death and like product tested and like peer reviewed, and like a group of people came together and said this will be one, this will get you on top 40, and like, it's just not it for me. It's not it, and it's definitely feeling very
Derivative.
But let's go to track number 8, In the Night, featuring Georgia Smith and Amare. I mean, it's very interesting so far. It's definitely got kind of like that kind of neo, kind of Afrobeat, futuristic kind of feel, almost from like a Kendrick Lamar, Black Panther kind of era. Like, it has Afrobeat, has a little synth. It's got a nice little rhythm and vibe to it and bop to it. And like, Georgia Smith, I think, is a great addition to this track. I think her vocals are always amazing. And like, I love when she kind of branches out and does kind of these more rhythmic, dancey, vibey type tracks, and like, I think that she's a good addition to the song, and so far, like, it's a cool little number. Like I said, it's definitely kind of a more straight down the line, middle, modern Afrobeat centric type song that you would hear a lot from a lot of different artists, and like, it's not like necessarily bad, but it's not necessarily great either. It's just very there. Like, it's just there. Like, it's not mad. I would not be mad if I heard this out, but it wouldn't be like something that I would request either. And like, I think he does a decent job here and puts all these elements together. I just don't think it adds anything new or exciting to kind of like this style of sound and music that he was trying for on this one. Let's go to track number 9. Let's go to Yoshinoya. Yeah. This is it. This is the one. This is the old Childish Gambino that I was kind of like really looking forward to, especially if he's gotten to get back to those more rappy hip hop ways instead of like these more alternative, soulful direction that he's gone over the last few years in his music and whatnot. Like this is it. Like this sounds like Stone Mountain era once again, because internet era Childish Gambino, where he's rapping and he's almost kind of like a little bit more serious here, like actually showing off the flow, showing us the lyrical ability, and backing it up with a hard hitting production. Like this is it. This is a vibe right now. Yeah, this feels right. Like this definitely feels right. Like this feels like kind of the old Gambino where he was super hungry and was out to prove everybody wrong, out to prove everybody who said he couldn't be a rapper, who didn't have that appeal, who couldn't do this, who couldn't do that. But like it's going to show you, like this feels like that guy who had a massive chip on his shoulder and wanted to show people that he can do whatever he sets his sights for. And like this feels right. This feels like the Childish Gambino of old. Now his career's in a blunt. Nigga getting smoked. Blog era over, but like that blog era was something special, and like it's really what put him on in the first place. So I'm not surprised if him kind of mentioned that, because the blog era is definitely what put him on to being with like, yeah. You gonna get this work, like absolutely fire sample and reference right there. If you don't know about Loaded Lux, go check that battle out. Fire reference right there. You gonna get this work. Like, yeah, this feels like the Childish Gambino of old, where he did throw in those like different crazy samples and references, and like had almost like a tongue-in-cheek delivery, but like was still spitting and like really showing off his ability as a rapper. And like this is just like one of the few straight up rap hip hop songs I've heard on this project so far, and it's fire. Like it just feels right. It feels right. Let's keep this going. Let's go track number 10. Can You Feel Me featuring Legend. I mean, this is honestly the first truly unique song that I've probably heard on this project that doesn't feel like anybody else, doesn't feel like anybody else could have done this. Doesn't sound like any other style or artist or anything. Like this is honestly the most unique sounding song that I've heard so far in this project, and having like this crazy backing vocal sample going on where they're like seemingly going through the entire alphabet on top of like everything else he's delivering. It's kind of crazy. Like it's kind of crazy back and forth that he's got going on here, but it fits very well with the character and the artist that is Childish Gambino. Like this is honestly the most unique sounding song I've heard so far, and I'm digging it. Hold on, let me let my connection improve. Hold on, what's going on? All right, let's see if that helped. I looked it up. Like I was like, Legend. It's got to be like his kid or something. But yeah, it's his son. I'm not exactly sure how old he is, but I mean, he's obviously sounding very young. And if that's his son, that's kind of a dope little addition. It's something that you're seeing a lot more, especially among like hip hop, where like these male figures are fully embracing being dads to a degree that you never really saw before. And like not only being dads, but like shouting them out, putting them on songs, giving them credits, and like really embracing them as a part of their lives. And it's always super dope to see. And like he's actually doing this kind of he's actually kind of doing his thing here. Like I doubt he wrote his own verses and whatever his contributions, but it is dope. And I'm gonna figure out that sample because it sounds super familiar. But right now, dope song. Hold on. Did he say? Well, I think he said, let me rewind that. I'd rather be with my family. I didn't show up at the Grammys. I'd rather be with my family. He came from me, not the nanny. Shots fired at a lot of these very successful people. Like kids are not being raised by their parents, but by nannies. And like he's fully like letting them know, like, nah, I'm there as a father. Like fully. Shots fired. absolutely fire song. Super dope, super unique. Like I said, like doesn't feel like anybody else. Feels like Childish Gambino. Feels like something that only like something he could have pulled off to the degree that he did. Absolutely fire sample, and I knew I had heard this one before somewhere, and I actually found it, so I'm gonna play this one for y'all. So I know I heard the sample before. Yeah, I mean, fire sample, fire pickup, fire like just very creative. Like only something that I think like a Childish Gambino would have pulled off. Like that's him showing off his creativity to the nth degree. Like obviously he's has a place in almost all forms of media at this point, and like for him to kind of pull something out like that and get the clearance to put it on a song featuring his son is a dope flex. That's a dope flex. This is a dope song, and that was a dope flex, getting a Sesame Street sample and then having your song on there going back and forth, you and rapping about how like pretty much how much you love being a dad. Like it's fire. Like that's a fire concept. Fire. Let's keep this going. Let's go to next No Excuses featuring Ludwig Göransson. I mean, another one of the impressive things that he has shown throughout his career, especially again, I'm going to go back to his era, but like this is the era of Childish Gambino that most people know, the Stone Mountain / Kauai tape. Like he had a very similar sounding, almost soundscape and production on some of those songs on that second album or second disc that really showed off his ability as not only a rapper, but as an R&B alternative kind of like pop singer. And like this feels very much of that era, but on a much more elevated and refined sense, which is what you would come to expect for somebody who's been in the game as long as he has. But like this is another very dope sample and very dope song and production that very much feels like Childish Gambino and feels only like Childish Gambino. Like those the bass is super nasty, and like such a mood and vibe for this entire track. And then once you layer it on top of that, what are they called, the what are the shakers called, maracas. It's like when you layer on like these maracas, almost give it like this almost bossa nova type feel. Like it's like, damn, this is excellent production.
Yes.
Ooh wee.
Absolutely immaculate vibes. Like I don't even know what to say. Like there's not much to react to, but like in terms of production and like laying this lush layered soundscape that you can just like fully dive into and get pulled into and just feel like you're like being taken off to like another dimension or whatever. It's like it's phenomenal. Production is absolutely fire on this song. Like honestly, my favorite production I've heard on it so far. And then once you, like I said, once you have like this crazy groovy feel good bass line, then you add on like these maracas to give it like this almost like almost bossa nova feel, and then you add on top of like these horns elevate this song to like a whole nother level. And like if he is the producer behind this track alone, I'm sure he's probably had some help, but like his ear for production sometimes is so elite. And like this is such a feel good song that like I could vibe out to like probably like another 20 minutes of this.
Bruh.
Immaculate. Immaculate. No points needed, no notes needed. This song is filthy. Like it very much reminds me of say like a Snarky Puppy. And if you know who Snarky Puppy is, and if you have not seen them, go check them out on YouTube, because like they are like this jazz fusion band of like some of the best musicians on earth. And like their feel and ability to create like these grooves and just vibes are on another level. And like this is sounding very much like almost like a Snarky level type of fusion production. And like his ability to pull off songs like this sometimes is what makes him so different and elite when compared to other artists who can kind of like walk different genres. His ability to do songs like this almost untouched in terms of like more mainstream pop artists, but this is a vibe. Absolutely phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Like again, I gotta give him his flowers because when it comes to like this type of fusion of genres and vibe and ability, which he also showed on Awaken My Love, and like that he's able to do these more complex, intricate, high level kind of production and soundscapes. And like again, he delivered on this, and like I could have listened to this a whole 30 minutes of this, and I absolutely will be going back and vibing to this one later on today. But like absolutely fire, absolutely fire. All right, let's keep this going. Let's go to track number 12, Cruising featuring Yeet. I mean, Yeet has definitely had quite a year, has he not? Like his blow up has been kind of crazy to watch because he is definitely an artist that you either love or you hate, and to see him kind of being embraced on this mainstream scale that he has over the past year has been kind of surprising. Not only on a song with Drake, which he kind of outshined Drake on, now he's on another song with Childish Gambino and like countless other appearances, and like his glow up has been pretty impressive. And like I've never really been mad at any song that I've heard him on. Like I've never loved all of his songs that he's done himself, but like any song that he seemed to appear on has always been a pretty decent addition. And like he's continuing this kind of crazy ride and run he's on, and like to see him being embraced by like all these big name mainstream artists is kind of dope to see. Absolutely kind of like super vibe right here. Like very spacey, crazy sense, and those keys are doing a lot of work and like kind of really taking you to a whole other like kind of like planet and galaxy. Like very spacey vibe going on with this, but overall like it's dope. I like the contradiction between like these more spacey synths and like this very hard hitting 808 along with like his more kind of singing vocalization. It's a pretty dope mix right now, and like great production. Like that's 2 for 2 over those past 2 songs. Fire track. Fire track. Like I said, absolutely immaculate vibes. Definitely kind of very spacey and takes you to like a whole nother level. Like it's definitely one that you can kind of throw on and just vibe out to. And like Yeet was a pretty dope addition to us. Like I said, it's pretty kind of crazy the run that he's been on. And like it's dope to see like all these kind of like big name artists embrace him. And like he always adds a decent amount to a song, surprisingly to me, but like he always adds a decent amount. And like this is a fire one. Let's go to the next track. Track number 13, We Are God. I mean, he's kind of been on a run right now. This is the 3rd song in a row where the production is just fire, like absolutely vibey. I really like this almost rhythmic thing he's going on where it almost feels like the hands of a clock ticking and like building up this rhythmic hypnotic feel to this track. And like and then once you drop in like these heavy synths that like elevate things and take everything to a whole nother level, like overall his production of the last few tracks has been on point. And like if this is definitely one of those songs that feels like you can throw your headphones on, cut the lights off, go sit outside and just really vibe out to. And like he's really delivering on that front right now. Fire. Absolutely fire. It's definitely one of those tracks where like the honestly, like the lyrics and like what he's saying are not at the forefront of what this song should be. At the forefront is to production and like this absolutely layered, lush, dense, impressive soundscape that he has kind of laid everything out on. And like it's meant for you to just let go and vibe out to and take you to like another planet. And like that's exactly what he delivered on this one. This is vibes. This is vibes. That's 3 songs in a row full of vibes, and I'm rocking with this. All right, let's keep going. Let's go track 14, Running Around featuring Fushi or Fouché. Not sure. Okay, so like after three straight songs of like vibes and like these very synth heavy electro spacey take you to another planet songs, we're going with like a straight up pop punk single. Like I get it that pop punk is back in a big way and it's a lot of artists kind of going in that direction. And like I understand they probably also grew up listening to pop punk because we are about the same generation that like that's what you would be hearing. And like but to hear Childish kind of go in this direction after like delivering such immaculate vibes is kind of a strong switch up. And I don't know how I feel about it so far. Yeah, not feeling this one. I can't lie. It definitely feels a bit
Derivative.
like it feels like very generic kind of pop punk. Whereas like if you were to tell somebody just kind of like, can you just imitate or can you like recreate some of the pop punk that you heard on the radio when you're growing up? And like this is exactly what you'd get. Like this is a poor man's imitation of pop punk. And like while it is possible to do a version of pop punk in today's day and age that is still fresh and feels unique and like still stands out, this is none of that. And like honestly feels like a kind of copy and paste from memory version of pop punk. And like instead of like giving us something that'd be a little bit more hard and aggressive and like rage out, which I would probably appreciate more, and this is very kind of bland, cutesy, Forever 21 type of pop punk that you would easily hear on the mall while you're like shopping around. And it's like, all right, I get what you're going for. This is clearly aimed for the charts and top 40, but like I am not feeling this one at all. Let's go to the next track, track 15, The Advocate. I mean, as I just got done saying, like it felt that last track running around felt like a cheap imitations of like early 2000s pop punk. Like this definitely feels like an imitation of kind of like that era of, well, that definitely block era of like rappers mixing with alternative indie rock and like delivering like these college type tracks. And it feels like that. It feels like almost like a I forget his name, but it definitely feels like that early 2000s era of like mixing alternative indie feel good rock with like hip hop and a more mainstream kind of affair. And like this definitely feels like that era, but also feels very sincere considering like his lyricism and like the things that he's saying and delivering on this track and like what he's trying to say. And it definitely feels more genuine and authentic to who he is as an artist than what we got on Running Around. So I'm definitely feeling this one a lot more. And it is a vibe. Like the guitar work is great and it is a vibe so far. Like I said, feels authentic, feels like a lot of other stuff that I've heard before. It definitely feels like kind of like that early 2000s, early to mid 2000s era of like, I don't know, alternative rap rock that we were getting. It's kind of like a strange period, but like it feels authentic, feels genuine to him, and it feels like the things that he was saying were like near and dear to his heart, and it feels like something that would come from his catalog instead of feeling forced. And like, I'm digging this one. It was a vibe. Overall, it was a vibe. Let's go to the next track. Let's go to track number 16, Happy Survival featuring Krangbin. I always forget how to say her name, but you all know what I'm talking about. So essentially that was just a straight up Krangbin, however you say their name, straight up one of the like songs. Like he just gave them a whole interlude more or less because like that is their MO, more like instrumental, psychedelic, funky rock. And like I've always loved their stuff, but like this is basically just one of their interludes, and I'm surprised you didn't just call that. But like it was a vibe, it was dope. Definitely one of their songs. And like if you love them, then you'll love this song. All right, let's go to the last track, A Place Where Love Goes. Hold on, I think I've heard this song before on like a reel or IG or something, and I was like, what is this? What is this? This is fire. I'm gonna run this whole track back. this is a banger. This is an absolute banger. I can't even lie. Like, vibes are crazy, synths are crazy. Those drums are nuts, absolutely nuts. And like, is it me or I'm getting some very heavy 808s and heartbreaks vibes right there? And like, that was such a pivotal moment in especially hip hop and rap and like kind of the whole space in terms of what music and that genre and sound can be. And like, this feels like a continuation of that. Like, those drums on this, those driving drums are nasty. Absolutely immaculate way to end off an album on an absolute banger of a track. Like I said, give me very heavy 808s and heartbreaks vibes, and like, that is a good thing because that album was special, and like the production on that was special. And to get these absolutely driving synths with this monstrous drum that's just knocking and creating this incredible rhythm, like, that is going to be an absolute banger in concert, and it's going to get everybody going. Like, that is a very, very strong ending to an album, and like, I fuck with that one. Very heavy, very heavy. One of my favorite tracks probably on this whole project so far. Way to end the album. Way to end the album. But that's it for Childish Gambino, Bando Stone in the New World. He says this is his last album as Childish Gambino. Now, does that mean he will come back as just Donald Glover or another entity or whatever? Like, quite possibly. I don't really see him just leaving music entirely. I feel like he will always come back in some shape or form. But in terms of Childish Gambino, he says this is the end. And if this is the end, it is still a strong send off. Like, again, this felt more like an ode to his old fan base that's been there from the beginning than anything else, because he's delivering heavy vibes from like those Because the Internet, Stone Mountain, Camp days to people who grew up on him and like really appreciated what he was doing when he was first coming out as an artist. It was a strong redirection from Awaken My Love, which was his probably blackest, most funky, soulful project ever, and like was really showing his capabilities outside of hip hop. But this was more of a return to his style of hip hop that blends a bunch of different things: a little bit of Drake, a little bit of Kanye, a little bit of Frank Ocean, a little bit of this and that, and like you get like almost a mixtape of sorts where you can kind of pick and choose the style and sound that you want. And like, while it didn't work on every aspect, because that's hard to pull off for anybody, I do think he did a very good job of delivering on a Childish Gambino product. So if you were a Gambino fan from the jump, you will like this product. If you weren't, and if you were expecting more of Like My Love, it might be a disappointment to you, because like, he did take a strong left turn from that project, which put a lot of people onto him to begin with. But like, if you were gonna be a fan, this is a nice little send off, nice little like heartfelt appreciation to his fans who've been there from the start, and like, he delivered on the Gambino product as a whole. Do I think it's the best project? No, but I think it's a very, very strong kind of send off for what is the Childish Gambino identity. But what do you guys think about this album? What are some of your favorite tracks? What do you think he should have done? What do you wish he would have done more? Do you wish you got more of like the Making My Love vibes? Or are you happy with his return to the Gambino that most people knew and loved? Let me know in the comments down below.